Hey, welcome to Angular After Dark, the after show. It's another episode today since it's Easter holidays in Denmark. So I'm all excited and we've been doing some interesting stuff today. So, last episode we actually ended up facing a problem in our Angular experiments. And that problem was we are needing this setting for our Angular builder to produce a single bundle for our Angular elements package. To do this, we're using ngx-build-plus, and it's set to version 11.0, which should be a version range really, but anyways, it's hard-coded to this version. And while we did manage to start using this ngworker Angular versions action to manage Angular dependencies based on all these different versions of Angular. This action will only manage the official Angular dependencies. And while ngx-build-plus is a nice builder by Manfred Steyer, it's not an official one, so it's not supported by, at least not currently, by the Angular versions action. So we're going to have to figure this out ourselves, because we need to vary this version of this dependency in our CI build as well. And it just happens to be that I recently started learning about how to create composite run steps actions. Because one thing I noticed while using GitHub Actions is that we have a lot of similar setups. For example, this step here, but GitHub Actions doesn't have a way of reusing steps, except it does for what's called composite run step actions. However, that only works for run steps, so terminal commands like these ones. But I've found a way to create a run step, a composite run step that actually executes a Node.js script behind the scenes. So we can use it, create a very simple custom GitHub Actions using this composite run step syntax and configuration, so that we can pass it parameters and we can even get outputs out of it as well. But for what we need is, we would like something like this. Users, and it would be something like this. Actions. We would call it package version maybe. And we would send it a parameter name ngx-build-plus version. Let's see if we can reuse this matrix parameter, the Angular version. Like that might not be entirely possible, because like the ngx-build-plus package will not have all these different versions. So we might need to find a better way for that later. But basically, this is what we're looking to do. So let's get started with that. Let me see here what we can do. So we have our .github folder here. Did I change something? Oh, I just added this commented out template code. Okay, so we have our GitHubs folder. We have the workflows folder with the ci.yaml. Now we'll create an actions folder for our project-specific GitHub actions. And inside of here, we'll create another folder, and I think we called it package version. that right? Yeah, package version. So we need two files. First, we need let's call it package version ngx for ES module JavaScript. So it's using ES6 modules or ES 2015 modules. And we'll need an action.yaml configuration file. Let's look at the configuration file first. We will give it a name, package version. We will give it a description, manage package version. And let's see if it requires some inputs. Name, description, name of the package, manage. And we might, I can never figure out this YAML where I need string quotes or not, so I'll just add them here. And this one should be required true. So now we have a name parameter. We also need a version parameter. The version of the package to sign. I don't know a better description right now. That's also required. Now we have two parameters, the version and the name for this action. And we could also add outputs here if we wanted to calculate something or turn something, but we don't need that for now, which makes it a bit simpler actually. So next one here is runs. Let's see, does this look similar? No. It's not really similar to a workflow, but runs. And we're needing here to say composite. Is this? I can't remember whether there's other options when creating a Node.js GitHub action or a Docker container GitHub action, but maybe this is where that would vary. This one is now a composite run steps action. So now we can have steps similar to in a CI workflow job, but we have the limitation that we can only use run steps, and we have to pass a shell explicitly. And since we're running on Ubuntu, we'll use bash. So now we can run commands from a terminal. That's the only thing we're allowed to do inside of a composite run steps action. But the neat thing is that we can run any Node.js script from here. So what would we like to do? We would like to go inside of package.json. Read package.json. Locate package. Change package version. Write to package. So this is basically what we want to implement in this Node.js script. That should be relatively straightforward. So we could do node, and here we need a specific property from the GitHub Action environment. So we can say GitHub.action path. And this will place us inside of this folder, the package version folder. So we'll say inside of that folder, locate the package version.mjs file and run node and then this node script. Hope this is starting to make sense. And now we can pass it our input parameters. Inputs, package, or name, sorry, and input version. So yeah, I mean, we could use a library to make it nicer to say like so, but for now, let's just pass it as two arguments, and we could always clean it up later. This is basically it, and now we're just missing the implementation. And after doing this, we should be able to use it something like this in our GitHub Actions workflow. Is there anything else we need to set up? No, that's probably it. That's probably it. So we'll scaffold the package version action. And now for the implementation. So this is a Node.js script. So what do we need? Let's see, I have some code here that I'm pasting. The underscore directory name global variable is not available in an ES module, at least not in Node.js 12. I don't know if that has changed in Node 14, but we're using Node.js 12 here, if you remember from the CI workflow. So this is a script to fix that, where, let's see. Is this available? No. Let's see, that comes from the URL package. File URL to path. But this meta object with the URL, that will be available, as we can see by the types here, even though they might not be fully accurate. But basically, this will give us this directory name. And we're going to need that later. So now, let's call this name. And the third argument here, or the fourth one even, will be the version. Just a second. Sorry, I had another tab open that was making some audio. Okay, so now we have our input parameters, and we have the location of, pretty sure it will be the location of like where it's called from. But yeah, I don't remember the details. We'll figure that out. Let's see. Directory name. Yeah, okay, so the directory name is this folder, the action folder. So if we wanted the workspace path, we would navigate 3 levels up. Let's see if that's correct. Like we're here now, and we go 1 up, then we're in actions, 2 up, GitHub folder, free up, and we're in the workspace root. And we're going to be targeting the package JSON. So package JSON path is another one we're going to need. So what do we want to do now? We want to have like a function here. Update package version. Name version. Oh, it's not TypeScript. Forgot about that. Well, I hope I can survive without TypeScript. Okay, so this should be where we're going to need the package JSON path. So what are we going to do? We're going to read this file. We need the path module as well for this one. Yeah. And let's use read file sync. Yeah, that makes sense. Read file sync. So let's say we want to package JSON, parse JSON of the package JSON path, and this returns a buffer or something, turn that into a string. So what we'll get here is the JSON or the JavaScript object that's inside of our package JSON file here. So this is a JavaScript object, of course, and that's what we'll have at this point. So now we need to find that dependency, and let's assume it's a dependency and not a development dependency, just for that's what we need right now. We're not trying to make a generic action right now. Of course, there would be different ways to do that as well. So we want to navigate into the dependencies property and look for this package. Package JSON.dependencies, and this is an object, a mutable object. So we can say the name, and we can assign it the version. I'm saying, yeah, it's not even a number, it's a string. So yeah, and that's what we want anyways. So now I have updated this dependency in the object. So let's find the right file sync. And the package JSON path and the package JSON, but we want to JSON.stringify it. And let's not going to care about formatting here, especially since it's a thing that will be run inside of a job. It's not something that will affect our source code, but we could, what is it like? Something like this. JSON stringify. The value, the replacer, we don't need a replacer function, and the number of spaces. Yeah. So this will make it a little pretty in case we want to print it out for debugging purposes, for example. Hey, B-Man, nice to see you. And I don't sound grumpy. It's because it's too late. It's too many hours after dark because I was watching your stream after my last one, and I really enjoyed that one. I love Thomas, so I'll be watching the next one again for sure. So right now I'm implementing what's known as a composite run steps GitHub action, and this is so that we can have our own reusable or encapsulating some logic GitHub action specific to this project, so that we can manage this ngx-build-plus dependencies and change it into different versions depending on the version of Angular we're integration testing or building against here. So a composite run steps action can only do run steps, but I'm kind of circumventing that by then running a Node.js script, because then I can basically do whatever, and Node is great for scripting. So that's what I'm doing here. So now we have read package.json. We have located the package inside this object. We have even changed the version as well. And now finally we're writing back to package.json. So now it should be a matter of update package version, name, version, and cross our fingers, and we might just get lucky that this works, or we'll fail miserably and have a laugh. So I just want to make sure I'm calling it correctly here. Oh, what did I do here? Even if this works, it will fail, like the build will break, because ngx-build-plus will not exist in all of these versions. But we'll deal with that later. For now, we'll be happy to have a package that we can, or a GitHub action we can run, and maybe we can out-comment some of these versions temporarily to only have versions that exist as ngx-build-plus. And I'll just comment this to like, yeah, I can never figure out this YAML syntax, when I need quotes and when I don't. Like, it's trying to be clever, like you don't need all these braces and quotes, but then you need it sometimes anyway. So yeah, I don't know. I'll throw in some quotes when I'm uncertain about it. Yeah. Yeah, is this the correct way? Like .github actions package version, or do I need something more here? Actions. That looks right. That looks right. We have the name parameter. We have the version parameter. It's pointing to the right folder here, GitHub Actions package version. And then it is looking for an action.yaml file, which is here. So that is defining, this is the name that will be shown in the pipeline. And these are the input parameters. It's a composite run steps action, and it's running this Node script and this one we saw before, and passing in these parameters as arguments to this script. We're then reading them here, hopefully, and running this function which is a really impure and terrible function. You should never run it, but it'll do magic to this project. Let's just wait and see. Implement the package version action. And activate the package versions action. Okay, and I'm pushing to main again because earlier today I was having some issues with it not detecting the updated CI workflow in a pull request for some reason, and I don't want to run into that problem again. So I'm doing bad practices tonight. Sorry about that. But yeah, in the interest of making progress and not get slowed down by GitHub again, let's do it this way and see what fails. Hopefully what we want to fail, like this version of ngx-build-plus doesn't exist, is what will break. Okay, and a reminder again, GitHub has this concept of fail fast by default. So as soon as one of these jobs fails, it will notify the other ones to cancel as soon as possible. And that's what we're seeing now. Okay, so 3 of them failed pretty fast. Let's look at the first one. It's the one with Angular 9.1. And yeah, no matching version found for ngx-build-plus. So actually, it seems that our action is doing its job because pnpm is looking to install ngx-build-plus at 9.1.x, which is a valid version range on npm. It just happens that ngx-build-plus doesn't have 9.1.x. So here we can actually see our custom action being run, and we can see it's running with these parameters: name ngx-build-plus, version 9.1.x, and we could log other output, which would be displayed here if we wanted to. But actually, it's working in the first try. That's all I wanted to see. So now let's just see if we can figure out which versions of ngx-build-plus actually exist. So 9, we have a 9.0, we have a 10.0, 10.1, and 11.0. So if we match that to our Angular versions, so we have 9.0, we don't have 9.1, we have 10.0, 10.1, not a 10.2, and we have 11.0. So if we're temporarily disabling these Angular versions, it just happens that this should match existing ngx-build-plus versions. But we'll have to come up with a way to enable this again. But for now, temporarily disable Angular versions that don't match ngx-build-plus versions. Let's see some magic, hopefully. It's cute. It's starting to turn the engines. We have these 4 parameters being passed to both the action, the Angular versions action, and our custom action, the package version action. So which one is going to finish first or fail? Exciting, it's a race. Maybe we'll look into this one. Installation completed. Now it's building. It's doing its thing. The other ones are also still running. Come on, 10.1. Yeah, it finished first. I picked the right horse. Let's see here. Okay, so now we might be able to mock the Angular team. Let's take note here. In version 9.0, an Angular elements build, a minimal one, was at 66.8 kilobytes uncompressed. In version 11, 74.9. I have to file an issue. This is a regression. I'm speechless. Angular has failed. It's becoming bigger and not in the way we want it to. Ivy, you're failing us. Oh dear. What are we going to do? Well, we're going to present evidence. So 2 things left to do. Hey there, Angular After Dark. 2 things left to do. We need to find a way to enable these ones so that we tell it use ngx-build-plus 9.0.x and so on. And after that, we still need to figure out how are we going to store these results. And on top of that, we should also store both the uncompressed and the gzipped bundle size of this web component package for our Angular element. So any good ideas for that? I'm all ears. Find me on Twitter, LazyDK. And hey, Jordan, what are you saying? You're saying this is Angular you're talking about, and you don't mean the publication, this is Angular. You're saying Angular is, what are you saying exactly? Are you saying it's getting bigger and no one cares? No, we can't say that. We can't say that. Except if we have the data to prove it, then we can say it. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that people want evidence in the Angular community. It's not enough that you know something, you have experience, you know what you're talking about. If you can't present any physical evidence, you're out. Every version of Angular breaks and no one cares about regression. Yeah, I mean, what's a breaking change? Like TypeScript, a new version of TypeScript should technically be a breaking change because every version of TypeScript has breaking changes, and Angular doesn't come with migrations for new versions of TypeScript, so that's on us. But yeah, no, I'm actually like, I didn't expect this. I didn't expect the bundle size to become bigger and bigger. Let's look at the latest 10.1 here, the size of that. I'm actually surprised by this. Okay, so this looks like it was exactly the same, 74.6 as the 9.0 version, 74.6. No, 66.8. Okay, was it the 11 one? No, they're not the same at all. 74.9, 74.6. So it increased a bit between 10.1 and 11.0. How about 10.0? This one was 74.6. And in the previous version, 75.5. So it actually decreased between these two, but then it increased again. And between 9 and 10, it increased the most. Yeah, no, I'm actually I'm quite surprised by this. I did expect the bundle to become smaller for each version of Angular. So, but also keep in mind, like now we've eliminated that it's not ngx-build-plus because we were always using version 11 before. Now we've eliminated that factor. So now we're back to there's something going on with Angular here. But we do have to consider that this setup of Angular elements that we're using is something I made up. So it's not a regular use case, but I do have experiments with more conventional and a lot of more experimental approaches to Angular elements. So let's measure all of it, but we need some way to collect all the data. It's pretty exciting, and it's also interesting to see how we can use this Angular versions action for something other than library maintenance. And I hope you're learning something about GitHub Actions as well and GitHub Action workflows. It's a super interesting tool, and the biggest downside I saw in GitHub Actions was actually that you can't really reuse these all these steps except for run steps. But now, yeah, like I think I found a pretty nice way to circumvent that, because we can take input parameters, we can even return output parameters and use them in the different CI jobs, and combine that with Node.js, and you have a pretty powerful you have a pretty powerful API all of a sudden. What seems like a very limited API is pretty powerful. I did discover that if you want output properties, you have to do some special magic, but we can do that some other time. I hope this was interesting enough for today. But anyways, this experimental thing I'm doing, if you remember, there's nothing Angular here. Well, we're enabling production mode to get the smallest build, and then we're just defining a web component. That's it. Nothing about bootstrapping, nothing about an Angular module. We have a hello world element class, which is returned by our create custom Ivy element that wraps the Angular's own create custom element. And this is an Angular element on top of the hello world component, which is just a regular Angular component. And yeah, this is it. It's a very, very simple one, but it actually uses the shadow DOM. It has on push. It's zoneless. It's without modules. So yeah, a very simple one. But I do have another example of adding some more Angular features. So we'll add that some other time. But for now, we need to figure out how to collect these metrics of the bundle sizes. So let me know if you have an idea for that. I'll also be trying to come up with something. And if you're interested in this create custom Ivy element, look up the repo. It's called Angular Elements Experiments on my GitHub profile. And in one of the other episodes, we were discussing it briefly, and we were fixing some type issues. And by fixing, I mean putting in any. So, okay, that's it for today. 3 episodes, and we made significant progress. And yeah, I really think these custom GitHub actions are very, very interesting. We can do some really nice stuff. And who said the front-end development is all about coding in the browser? No, it's also about tooling. Like Angular is all about tooling. And as soon as you get some advanced scenario for your CI or CD pipeline, you have to, you can't buy it or get it off the shelf for every situation. So sometimes you have to do Node.js scripts and put GitHub Actions on top of that, and we have a very powerful API. So I guess that was it for today. I'm going to be taking an Easter break, but I'll be back at some point whenever I feel like it. 3 episodes for one day. It's probably not going to happen every day, but I hope you have a nice week and help me figure out this collecting metric stuff. That would be great. See you all. Bye.